Now, we can't really get away from what we're about to talk about today. You flash up your social channels and or even news channels, and it's all that seems to be being talked about at the moment, which is, this downturn or a recession or whatever you might want to call it. But obviously things have changed. I think people have gone from a sort of growth at all costs type of attitude to really sort of focusing on efficiency. So the whole purpose of this podcast is to give people a few ideas to be thinking about. We can't go super deep on every single thing, but a few things for people to be thinking about in this situation to make sure they're getting the most out of 2023, which is when this will be sort of live. But I guess the first thing that a lot of companies think about in this situation from a leadership point of view is CEOs think, right, how can I cut costs? I know, I'm going to cut the marketing budget, which, invariably happens. What sort of things should you be thinking about then if you imagine you're a leader or you're speaking to B2B tech leaders at the moment, marketing leaders at the moment, what sort of things should they be thinking about if they're told, right, okay, we've got to shrink this budget a bit?
So there's a short and long answer to this question. As anybody who follows me on LinkedIn, I'm a fan of there's a real answer that you want to hear in the moment, but there's a real better way to think about it. So the short answer is, your boss told you have to cut budget. And so where are the things you should look? There's a few areas of direct value you can immediately realize. Just turn off branded search. In my opinion, it's one of the greatest scams of the 2010s. It's like Google is saying you have to bid on your own keyword. It doesn't make any sense when you really think about it. Somebody's searching for you already. Then you're just paying for that click. That's the first thing you should do. Whenever I consult for a company now, there's 10 to 20 to 30K a month going to branded search. If you cut it, every single time, PPC traffic goes down, but then organic traffic picks up every single time like clockwork. So if you're doing that now, so your boss has told you to do that, just do that immediately. The second thing is look at your tools budget. So every marketing team has a bunch of SaaS tools in their stack. I can guarantee you 10 to 20% of those are not being used to their fullest extent. So you can just cut those or consolidate those, and that's immediate savings. The other is the tools that you are using. Think about which ones are up for renewal and then call your CSM or just try to cancel in the app. And what's going to happen is somebody's going to put you in automated flow that says, please stay around, because they're having recession issues too, right? You get a free month. So there's just a lot of ways you can do in the short term to think about saving immediate dollars. And the last thing I would say is look at your freelancers and agencies that you're using. Sometimes you have people on retainer. You didn't even know that you still had them. So just really reevaluate those. Just doing those 4 things can give you some credibility within your team. If your boss is saying, hey, cut the marketing budget. It's okay, good. I have these 4 things. Dave told me to do these 4 things. Perfect. So now I have some breathing space to think about, wait, don't cut marketing as a whole. So the answer to this is going to be really company specific, because some companies really actually do need to cut their marketing spend or really do need to reduce their team, but that's because they haven't thought about how their marketing fits in their go-to-market as a strategy. The thing that I would say is, when you view your company in the context of your industry, you always want to be doing something slightly different than your competitors. So if your competitors are also making cuts and they're also doing hard reductions in how they invest in marketing, is there a way where you can use that as a way to reaccelerate once a recession is over? What are the things that we did at HubSpot during the first recession in recent memory, which is the COVID lockdowns and all that kind of stuff, right? We realized, okay, we need to slow down everything in marketing, but we know that these are crazy headwinds we're going to face. How can we turn these headwinds into a tailwinds once this is inevitably over or once the pressure reduces? So really thinking about it in terms of there's that saying, when your competitors zig, you zag, or you zag, you zig, whatever.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, there's something there around don't do what the same thing that everybody else is doing. You could make a reduction, but how can you invest in a smart way such that you know that this recession is not going to last forever? How can you give yourself a tailwind so you can reaccelerate when the conditions are better?
And I guess you're touching on there is actually, if you're going to be saving budget, let's actually, of that money that we're saving, let's use it for something that's going to let us stand out. So, okay, let's improve the efficiency of our ads, for instance, by actually investing a little bit of that saved budget in things like creative. So you really can sort of stand out against your competitors.
Yeah, man, I think you said it in a much more succinct way than I just did. But basically what I'm saying is don't cut and then do the exact same thing. When you cut, you kind of have to reevaluate and do it's called zero-based budgeting. You start from scratch. If you only had this amount starting now and you had a clean slate, what would you do? And you end up with different answers. typically. So it's over investing in creative, whereas before you're over investing in like paid, like budget and media buying. So thinking about what you can do differently in a recession, I think is going to be very important.